obviously we are going now, and what we just witnessed with the Super Bowl that just happened. Fantastic game from one side, but the other side, well, they lacked a little something, something, if you will.
Definitely not the outcome we were expecting, considering every single one of Tom Brady's decades worth of Super Bowls has been a one score game, minus the Rams one, which was 10 points. Was not expecting to see one with the highest scoring offense of the last 3 years get held to out of the end zone completely at 9 points altogether. And to see the Tampa Bay defense run rut shot all over him. Tom Brady be perfectly efficient in the first half, and in the second half, they basically just cruise controlled their way through it and still kept Kansas City out of the end zone the entire way.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. You talk about that offense. I mean, they had 3 of 13 third downs, 1 of 3 fourth downs, only 24 first downs in the game. 3 times Mahomes got sacked, and really the big thing, the first time we've seen Townsend out here punting multiple times in a game. This is only his second, third, and fourth punts of the postseason this year. So it was crazy to watch this defense from Tampa Bay. For me, I'm in shock. I thought they were great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from them, but to play this well and shut down this offense the way they did, probably the best offense, one of the best offenses we've ever seen as far as these high flying pass based offenses go. I mean, I feel like this was just an outstanding showing from a very young, very strong defense.
Absolutely. And we saw the speed from Levante David and Devin White covering the entire middle of the field, allowing them to keep somebody over the top of Tyreek Hill the entire game. And it looked like that pass rush against two backup tackles, too. Not just one backup tackle, but both edges are backups against Jason Pierre Paul, who has yet to lose a playoff game in his life, and Shaq Barrett, who's coming off of 19 and a half sacks. And this season didn't have quite the numbers, but was still a fantastic pass rusher. It's hard for anyone to really go against that. And then you factor on top of it, Patty looked like he was basically doing what we kind of complain that Russell Wilson does, where he drops back and looks at the rush, tries to figure out if they're going inside or outside, then decides to break contain, then look downfield. It looked like Patty was kind of trying to do the same thing as well. He'd set back in the pocket and immediately look at the rush, not look to run. Then he was running backwards like this was Super Bowl V, Cowboys and the Dolphins running backwards for 47 yards or some stuff. If Lamar was doing that, which he has before we've gotten on him on that, so I'm gonna get on Patty as well too. You got to be able to see the field, get the ball out quickly, understand what you're seeing, not try and make a superhuman play all the time. It's what we criticize Carson Wentz for. The problem is he's a lot more self-implosive and fumbles it every time he moves. Where if basically Patty was doing the same thing, just holding onto the ball. So if you're Patty, you got to find a way to stay in the offense. And for Bieniemy and Eric Reid, I don't know what they were necessarily calling. It seemed like they were trying to run the exact same offense they did the first time they played, where Tyreek Hill just he down there somewhere the whole game. Travis Kelce managed to he had the yards, but they felt kind of empty because every time they went to him on third down, there's 2 or 3 drops, 2 or 3 times he wasn't able to separate. It was just a real lackluster performance from the Chiefs offense for a team that said they were bored, allegedly has been said they're bored all season, or the reports have been saying they're bored, not having fun. Well, you almost lost to the Browns. You came out and put on a clinic against the Bills. Then with 2 weeks off, you lay a duck against Tampa Bay. It's not something you want to see from a team that's supposed to be the modern day dynasty. They're supposed to run this league for as long as Patty's around, basically. Not a good start for that following up last year. I mean, it's hard to repeat, and you see why.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, you talk about this defense for this Chiefs team. I mean, just look at the penalties alone. One of the least penalized teams in the league, and they set a Super Bowl record for penalty yards in a first half at 95. They finished with 11 penalties for 120 yards. Yeah, some were questionable, but they spent more time complaining about these questionable calls than they spent trying to make up for the questionable calls on the other end. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu, one of the guys that is being considered one of the best safeties this season, looked like an absolute fool most of the night because he's too busy complaining than actually playing defense and trying to tackle somebody. I mean, he literally looked like a little fourth grader trying to tackle a high schooler at most points in this game. It was absolutely asinine to watch.
And he broke the number one rule of all of football of the last 15 to 20 years. Don't go trash talking Tom Brady, especially when he already has the lead. You wait till the game's over, then you trash talk Tom Brady, or you trash talk him beforehand and hope you can set the tone early. You don't get him hyped up and get him in psycho mode, basically, while he is already piecing your defense apart. It's not like you were getting to him early. It's the same thing we said when we were calling the Titans and the Ravens game. Oh, that Malcolm Butler's talking trash to Lamar. And then Lamar scampers off for 60 yards and breaks the game open. Difference is they had a 10-0 lead. So if you're the Titans, you're like, oh, King Henry will save us, even if we accidentally set off Lamar. Tom Brady's up 14-3 on you and you're yapping. Like, my goodness, that's setting yourself on fire while you're already It's like covering yourself in oil while walking through a burning building. There's no reason for it, and you're just asking for what you got at that point. Don't trash talk Tom Brady. Sure as heck don't trash talk him when you are losing by double digits. And he's at home, and he has the greatest arsenal of offensive weapons we have ever seen from top to bottom. Antonio Brown didn't play the first quarter. That dude was the best receiver in football less than 1,000 days ago.
Yeah, we laugh about that, Antonio Brown not playing the first quarter. He then goes on to catch a touchdown. And you talk about all these weapons he has on the offensive end. That defensive end, I mean, goodness, that front seven, if they don't give the MVP to the front seven as a collective whole, they were toasting this Chiefs offensive line. I don't care if those are backups or starters coming in as tackles. You play for the Kansas City Chiefs, you better be good if you're going to be coming in and trying to protect Patty Mahomes. Because if they cannot protect Patty, that game plan, we saw it. Yeah, he looked like a Madden game out there trying to go for it on 4th and 20 and with old Mike Vick in 2005 Madden. That's what it looked like. That's what I used to do all the time, and it was successful. But you can't do that in a professional game and expect to get away with it. I mean, these guys, we were counting during the game, and it's maybe 0.5 seconds for Shaq Barrett or JPP to get around the edges. As a tackle, they're getting around you in 0.5 seconds. Your quarterback's screwed. Absolutely screwed. And it's just, it's crazy to see that he only got sacked 3 times when you consider how many times Patty was, running for his life. And as you said at one point in time, he was seeing ghosts because even when they weren't getting around the edge, he was still afraid they were getting around the edge. I mean, this defense was so impactful on this game. All the laudits go to this defense, in my opinion. You look at this score, 31-9. I just can't stop thinking about how good this defense is. And you called it in the lead up because you said go too deep on these Chiefs team. You cover too deep with these safeties. You protect that Tyreek Hill deep ball, and you make them play in between your safeties and linebackers. And by that time, your ends get to the game. And you called that. You 100% called that in all our lead ups. And how did it feel watching that and seeing exactly what you're talking about come into fruition?
If anybody in the AFC West wants to hire me as a defensive consultant, I'm all available. It's what makes Tom Brady and Drew Brees and these different type of pocket passers so good is they don't have the ability to do what Patty does that makes him special, where you see him, scramble, break 4 tackles, fling it while parallel to the ground 30 yards right into a guy's face mask, even though he drops it, like we saw Patty do. They can't do that. So they stay within the play. They read the defense. They quickly get the ball out. They make the plays instantly. They're cerebral players that don't have the athletic ability. Patty's a cerebral player, but he has so much God-given ability. He's a shortstop basically playing quarterback, and he knows he can make any throw in the book. He knows he can outrun a lot of these D linemen. He rushed for, what was it, like 60 yards or something like that too?
Yeah, so he still was able to get some rushing yards too.
That's the downside of being this dual threat quarterback is you've done it your whole life. You can't just turn it off and be like, all right, quick, 1, 2, 3 stick route, 1, 2, 3 hitch route, 1, 2, 3 short corner, 1, 2, 3 they bite down over the top. That's what makes Brady so good and so successful for so long. Is these little things will always be right. The question is, you have to be right all the time. You can't make the little mistakes because you have to go on those 10 to 15 play drives sometimes. The death by 1,000 paper cuts. We saw it a little bit against the Bills, especially with Patty being dinged up and the way Bieniemy and Eric Reid designed the game plan. There was absolutely no freelancing. It was, all right, you will run this to a T. If it doesn't work, we will change our game plan. But you, Sir Patty, there is no backyard football. NFL Street is out the door for this week, and it was their best game of the season. This week, they tried to bring in a little bit of NFL Street because they had the backup tackles. And I think early on, they felt the pressure and got a little nervous. And I think Patty did the same thing that we talk about with Carson Wentz. He tried to get too greedy. Tried to make all the plays at once. You're down 14-3. You're trying to come back on it. And there was just nothing there. This Tampa Bay defense was not going to give you that. With both those safeties deep, you're not getting any chunk plays. And the ones you get are going to be Travis Kelce, just Travis Kelceing through people, basically. It's like, oh, he got enough separation, got the ball in there, run after the catch. Those are what you're going to have to take for big plays. Denver, of all teams, too, I know they didn't have the best season. They did it They did it in their second game against the Chiefs. Held them a little under wraps. The Atlanta Falcons, if they weren't inept at if you can eliminate fourth quarters, they would obviously be a playoff team. But even then, since they have fourth quarters, they were able to have so much success against the Chiefs. And everyone talks about, oh, the Chiefs are bored. They're not taking it seriously. They played a lot of 2 deep safeties as well, too, and let a Louis Kahn, Deion Jones, and those athletic linebackers who could not cover Travis Kelce, but they can not get completely toasted by him. Yeah. Similar game plan, just on steroids, basically, for Tampa Bay when you have all that talent. And Todd Bowles has been watching them, too, this whole season because Todd Bowles is a smart guy. I know he struggled as a head coach a little bit, but when it comes to defense, he is one of the smartest minds you'll find in the game. He uses Devin White as a pass rusher to set up Shaq Barrett. He'll put Shaq Barrett inside, Devin White on the outside, and they'll twist and stunt. And then if they see the running back on that side, they'll be like, oh, Devin White, you're guarding the running back. If he goes out, takes away the quick check down. Little things like that. I saw one against the Packers, their first matchup. Devin White and Levante David were playing defensive ends. And they basically said, all right, if Aaron Jones is on your side, you're guarding him if he goes out for the quick flare, and the other one blitzes. If he stays, you're both coming while blitzing Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, and the rest of the squad. So he is as creative as they come. I don't know if, obviously, we know the head coaching gig didn't go so well for him, but it was with the Jets, and the Jets are cursed. So we'll see if Robert Saleh can break that curse. But I think it was a master defensive performance, heck of a performance by Tom Brady, the ultimate efficient master of 1,000 paper cuts. Every time he took a deep shot, it was a defensive PI or a defensive holding. So I think this is what makes Brady great, and things that the new age of quarterbacks that can do so much good. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, Deshaun, all these guys, they do so much great things, but the ability to methodically beat you on 12 to 13 consecutive plays, that's one thing they've never had to do because they've been the best athlete on the field while being the best quarterback on the field too. They haven't had to make up for it in other ways. So I think this could be a next learning step for Patty. Maybe moving forward, he starts to see like, oh, I could be methodical. I don't have to be Patty Mahomes every play. You should only have to be Patty Mahomes maybe once a game or once every couple weeks. When it's like, oh, okay, we need a play, and you break it out. But they got to find a way to keep everything within a structured offense, which easier said than done when you're going against this hellacious defense as well, too. But I think if they could have stayed within something with these backup tackles, stayed within a structured offense, a quick, methodical paper cuts, I'm going to keep saying death by 1,000 paper cuts type game plan, that's where they would have been able to have success. And where like Jared Goff was able to have success with them. When we remember when the Rams played Tampa Bay earlier this season, absolutely torched them. Even Drew Brees in that second matchup, not the playoff one where Drew Brees forgot which team he played for, but the middle one when he was dicing them up as well. Teams that have had success against Tampa Bay, they'd go death by 1,000 paper cuts and make those safeties come down and then go over the top of them.
Yeah, and you know, the one key to that death by 1,000 paper cuts is a run game. And we saw that from Tampa Bay today. We saw Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones get going early, very early. I mean, obviously they weren't busting off 10, 20, 30-yard runs.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette did have a pretty nice 40-yard run, too, of his own.
Yeah, I mean
looking like LSU Leonard Fournette, he's usually 3 yards in a cloud of down.
He got that later on. But, you know, you do look at it and you're like, okay, they're getting 3, they're getting 6, they're getting 7, they're getting 7, they're getting 6, they're getting 3 again. They're getting consistent numbers. And you look at the stats for the Chiefs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 9 carries, 64 yards, average 7 yards a carry. I mean, why is he not getting more carries if you're trying? You have 2 backup tackles. You're going against one of the best pass rushing teams. I know they're great against the run too, but you're going against a very deadly pass rushing team, and you have Patty Mahomes back there. You have to give him something to work off of, so he's not being just absolutely trashed all day. Why not give it off to Clyde Edwards-Helaire more? And more importantly, what the hell did you sign Le'Veon Bell for if you're not going to bring him into the game? Like, what is this? You brought in Darrell Williams to carry the ball 2 times. He had 2 catches as well. And that's on 4 targets. He had 2 catches on 4 targets. Where's Le'Veon Bell? The guy can be used in a pass game. He can be used in a run game. He can be used in blocking schemes. What is the point of bringing Le'Veon Bell into this team if you don't play him?
And what I'm doing right now is pretty much what they signed Le'Veon Bell to do. Like, I will take his salary to do this for about 60 minutes plus. I mean, he's in his last full season with the Steelers, he caught 85, 89 passes in addition to rushing for over 1,000 yards. He is the quintessential dual. He was Christian McCaffrey before Christian McCaffrey as far as dual threat type running backs that are 90 and 90 as far as a receiver and a running back if we're going to grade him. And you brought him in as like your bell cow, I guess, or just spell Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you didn't use him in the most important game of the year. I know he's a little dinged up beforehand, but so is Clyde. You don't need Le'Veon Bell to do a lot. Just cycle him in there. It's another look. Antonio Brown had no problem coming in for the Tampa Bay while he's dinged up. He was questionable till today. He scores a touchdown and absolutely toasts Tyrann Mathieu's ankles on the goal line. Plus, he had a few other plays beforehand. If he didn't have those 2 or 3 negative, like little touch pass screen passes, he might have gone close to 50 yards. So you never know. I just don't know what they were thinking. Why'd you bring Le'Veon Bell in? Why'd you do that if you're not going to even let him see the field? You could have brought him up as an up back on the punt team and let him run a fake punt at one of those points when you punted it. It's a waste of a former All-Pro. Like, unless he was really trash in practice and I missed something, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like what it reminds me of is them not using him is a lot like I think of Ocho Cinco back in the day coming back for the Patriots and literally only catching 1 pass his entire Patriots career. And that's kind of what this felt like. Le'Veon only played 2-3 games really consistently and was actually carrying 50% of the load or about 50% of the load in those 2 to 3 games. Other than that, he's kind of been sparingly used. And in the playoffs, he's been a no-show. I mean, literally not even really used at all in the playoffs. It's been really Darrell Williams, and that's because Clyde was injured. Le'Veon is question mark sometimes whether he plays or not. But yeah, what's the point of bringing him in here? And then on top of that, you look at these averages. You talk about 1,000 paper cuts as well. I'm going to keep going back to this. Your averages on your receptions are 10 yards, 10 yards, 11 yards, 13 yards, 11 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. Okay, you obviously know where you need to hit your guys. If your average is around 10 yards, you're hitting them between the 7 to 15 range every time, and that's where they're open. I mean, that's a very simple look if you look at that from the halftime and go on, and why you don't scheme more things to hit that mid-level, because they're obviously playing close to the line and they're playing deep. They're not letting you get deep, and they're not letting you get quick like bubble screens, basically. And you saw that early because they did not allow any screens to come to fruition for the Chiefs. So you look at this and you're like, okay, what are you doing, Chiefs? Where's the game planning that we talk so heavily about? You have two of the greatest offensive minds currently on your coaching staff in Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid, and you're not making the correct adjustments when you see, this defense is playing you shallow and they're playing you over the top at the same time, giving you the open middle, especially with the way Patty had to scramble out of the play. The moment he broke the tackles, there was wide open a receiver streaking across the middle around 15 to 20 yards that if he just looks, he has the arm talent. He can throw that weird back, sidearm cross body throw away from the body that everybody says don't throw if you're a quarterback. Patty's a different player. He's a different type of thrower, so he can actually make that throw because he has the arm talent. It's not suggested, but it's a Super Bowl where, at this point in time, you threw 2 picks anyways. Might as well throw 2 picks when you're making the throw to the open guy, not 2 picks while you're laying on your side throwing like, we've seen shortstops and second basemen throw while you're completely horizontal to the ground. This game was just absolutely awful for this Chiefs offense and really their defense as well. But and I'm not even really harping on the defense because, to be honest, they did what they could when they were putting really bad positions. Townsend had some terrible punts. He literally set up the field position. Really, I mean, I'm pretty sure the average field position for the Buccaneers was around the 45-yard line on their side. So they have to go 5 yards across midfield. So you're telling me you have to go 55 yards to score a touchdown? Of course it's going to be 31-9. Tom Brady, when he's in a wheelchair, can get you 55 yards. It's not hard, especially when he dinks and dumps his way and he has a lead to begin with. People are going to look at this and they're going to be like, oh, wow, 31-9, that's a great offensive showing. What they don't realize, this defense had Tom Brady on the front foot from the second drive going forward. You hold Kansas City to a field goal when they're driving on you and it looks for sure like they're going to get in the end zone, and you hold them to a field goal right there, and then you come back out and score a touchdown if you're Tampa Bay, and then immediately get the ball back. Like, you're on the front foot. You are pushing and you are trying to put the nail in the coffin early if you're Tampa Bay, and they did that. I mean, Tom Brady's one of the best at it. We talk about. I'm not taking anything away from him. But this wasn't really a Tom Brady ring like you keep seeing on Twitter right now, which I hate Twitter right now because everybody's riding Tom Brady and they're not looking at this as really any quarterback that can throw the checkdowns in this game would have had just as much success, if not more, than Tom Brady had in this game because of how good and outstanding this defense is. Don't get me wrong, Tom Brady is one of the most fantastic winners that we've ever seen in this game, and I will say that he will be. When he retires, the day he retires, he will be considered the GOAT. I can admit that now. It took me a while, but I can admit it now. But you look at this, and you guys got to. If you're reading this and you're one of those guys saying, "Oh, Tom Brady, the Tom Brady hate, the Tom Brady hate," no, I respect him. But this game was won from the word go by this defense and the energy, especially Lavonte David and Devin White, what they did. And you talk about these corners getting into the receivers. For Kansas City, they were in their face masks from the word go. So you look at this, and this defense just absolutely outstanding. Like I said, I cannot stop thinking about it, just how good they've been. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Of course, this is just our initial reaction after this game, too. Like, it just ended. I don't even know who the MVP's been announced yet. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Brady. I think they're still talking about it right now. Yeah. We're going to have a lot more of this on our podcast coming up later on this week. We'll see it Thursday on the Unhinged Sports Network, and then Friday, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the whole enchilada. We're going to have this on YouTube as well if you're just tuning in late on the Colorcast, so you could catch our full immediate reactions of wow. So that's all I have so far for us on the High Low Sports Podcast. Shout out to Tampa Bay, Super Bowl champions in their own home stadium. Doesn't get a whole lot better than that. a year unlike any other we've ever seen before. Tampa Bay actually one of the teams that handled COVID better than everybody else too. I don't even think they even had a scare at one point. So
no, not at all.
Shout out to them. The whole season, they've made it happen.
Yeah, and on top of that, they won it at home, whether they were the home team or not. They won it at home. You had to carry the trophy exactly 0 feet from the moment you get the trophy to where you start your Super Bowl trophy presentation for your home crowd. So congratulations on that. And if you are a Buccaneers fan, go on over to our link tree in our bio. There's Fanatics link. All you got to do is click that link. It will take you directly to Fanatics page. There will be a big thing that says Super Bowl 55 champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Get your gear. And you just click that little link. You order your gear. Go pick it up. Obviously, we're tooting our own horn because it does help our podcast and it does help the network. But we all know you're fans. You all want to get the gear anyways. So might as well go get it now while you can.
And if you're a Chiefs fan and you're still upset, you can go a little bit down that link tree and find the Craft Beer Club and get some beer to help you basically nurse away some of the pain on this one. It's like BarkBox, but for grown adults. Drink responsibly. Don't worry, there's always next year. You got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. You guys will be right back next year. You've lost. This is the only game by double digits you've lost since 2018. You'll be okay.
Yeah, and if you're the rest of us and you just kind of want to watch the grime of this Super Bowl COVID riddled season off your body, go check out Dr. Squatch as well. Fancy soaps, if you haven't ever heard, they're also there. And get ready for baseball season with Fubo TV. Cut the cord, watch all your baseball games. Also, NBA games as well are going to be on there, so be sure to check that out. And as always, we are on Colorcast Live right now, but we will also be doing NBA games going forward with Colorcast, so be sure to download the app from the link in our bio because you will not regret it. And I guess that does it for us, guys. We will see you on our episode this week. Yeah, is that all, DJ?
That's all I got for them. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And we'll have a lot more in-depth once the initial shock of, oh my goodness, that was the Super Bowl wears off. We'll be able to look at it a little bit more. We'll have a little bit more of a recap coming up. So definitely stay tuned for that as well.
Exactly, guys. So until next time.